Hey everyone, today I'm going to try something a little different than what I usually do for my videos. Usually I plan them out heavily in advance. A lot of the times I will have a script for my intro and I've already written every single line of code that I'm going to use in the video, so everything flows really nicely. But today I have a couple of hours to work on a video, and rather than using that couple of hours to make a script and plan everything out perfectly, I want to try just recording a video as I'm learning something for the first time and see how that turns out. And specifically today, I want to teach myself about GitHub Copilot. I've actually never used it before. I really don't know that much about it, and I'm hoping that by the end of this video, I'll be somewhat of an expert on how to use it, and I'm hoping you'll enjoy coming along this journey with me. I'm still going to edit this video and cut out all of the awkward silences or times where I'm just sitting there thinking and processing, but I hope this format is helpful to see what that learning process can be like. And I'm hoping it's also interesting to see first impressions of GitHub Copilot before I've had a chance to really dig into it. So thanks for joining me today, and let me know in the comments if you like this format or if you prefer my videos that are more scripted and planned out. Okay, so I'm on the webpage for GitHub Copilot. It says it's your AI pair programmer. Apparently it's going to use the OpenAI Codex model to suggest code and write entire functions for you in real time right from your editor. I know that it does cost money, but there's a free trial, so that's what I'm going to go with for today. I do already have a GitHub account, but I'm going to create a new one for the purpose of this video. And I'm going to use the email address that is associated with this YouTube channel. Take a moment to generate a password and a username. Oh no, it's CAPTCHA again. This one is like the same one that was in my Blastula video, and I hope that this is not where CAPTCHA is going because these are the worst ones. That one was not as bad though. Okay, so I guess we can get a 60-day free trial of GitHub Copilot, which is awesome. I'm just gonna sign up for the $10 a month one. It looks like I do have to enter my billing info to sign up for the free trial, but that's okay. I'm sure we can cancel it fairly easily. Okay, after I've entered my credit card information, it's asking for preferences. So I guess you can decide whether or not you want to prevent GitHub from suggesting code to you that is exactly identical to code that someone else has written. Personally, like as an individual, not representing an organization or an employer right now, I'm going to allow suggestions matching public code. But I think if I were doing this representing an organization, I would be inclined to pick block, I think. And then we get to decide if we want to let our code snippets improve GitHub Copilot in the future. Basically, do we want to improve their model based on what we write? I'll leave that as allow for right now. Okay, so there's only a few IDEs that are compatible with GitHub Copilot, and unfortunately for probably most people watching this video, it looks like RStudio is not one of those IDEs. Don't think I've ever made a YouTube video where I didn't use RStudio for the programming portion, so this will be a little bit different, but I'm going to go with Visual Studio Code. I have used it quite a bit and I do really like it, and the nice thing about Visual Studio Code is that it does have really great extensions for R and Cordo as well. So it's an environment that I'm already somewhat familiar with, and maybe GitHub Copilot can inspire me to use VS Code a little bit more. I actually don't have VS Code installed on this machine, so I'm going to download that first. I also think it's worthwhile mentioning that even Posit themselves are supportive of VS Code. I went to a workshop at the RStudio conference last year, back when it was still called RStudio instead of Posit, and it was a workshop on an introduction to Cordo, and we actually used VS Code for a lot of it. I'm someone who is a big fan of Posit and all of their products, so I don't feel like I'm betraying them or something by using VS Code for this video. And I am an R programmer, so I'm still going to make sure that this is very focused from the perspective of an R user. And who knows, maybe one day Posit will add support for a GitHub Copilot extension in RStudio. Or maybe someone in the open source world will go ahead and make something like that for us. Now that VS Code is launched, I'm going to go ahead and add those extensions that I was talking about before. So the first one I'm going to add is R. That's installed. I'm going to add the Cordo extension as well. And finally, let's see if we can get GitHub Copilot on here. Looks like it's as easy as that. Okay, so then a little pop-up appears asking us to sign in to GitHub in order to use GitHub Copilot. Gonna click allow. Oh no, okay, it's popping up to my personal GitHub, which is not the one that I want to use with VS Code. I want to actually use that account that I just created, since that's the one where I have the GitHub Copilot free trial right now. Let's see if I go into the documentation. Okay, apparently I needed that pop-up, so I'm going to click cancel. And then, it asked me if there's a different way I'd like to log in, so let's say yes. Okay, it's still popping up to my personal account, so I'm gonna go to GitHub, and I'm just gonna sign out, and then hopefully if I launch that again. Okay, so now it's giving me a one-time code that I can copy and paste using that other account. Now I have to enter this code. All right, I'm gonna authorize VS Code, and it looks like that worked. Let's go back to VS Code for a second. Okay, so let's take a look at the documentation. GitHub Copilot can provide suggestions for numerous languages and a wide variety of frameworks, but works especially well for Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, Ruby, Go, C#, and C++. The examples that they have are in JavaScript, but other language should work similarly. Looks like our first step is to create a new file. I'm going to make an R script instead of JavaScript. Let's go to new file, R document. And then it's asking us if we'd like to install the R package language server, which is required for code completion, etc. So let's go ahead and install that. Okay, we might need to reopen an R file. Create a new R document, and I'm just gonna put some text into it and save it. The next suggestion is to create a skeleton of a function, and then GitHub Copilot will automatically suggest the function body in grayed text. Let's follow along with this example, but we'll turn it into R code instead. So we're going to create a function called calculate days between dates, and the first argument is begin and the second argument is end. So calculate days between dates is a function, and it's a function of begin and end. And now I've got the skeleton, but nothing's really popping up. Let's see what we're missing here. Okay, so it looks like I didn't actually activate Copilot yet, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to enable this for R only for right now. So I'm guessing that this will activate Copilot anytime I create an R script, but not if I'm using other languages in VS Code. I'm still not seeing anything popping up. Let's try one of the other examples. I guess you can also generate code suggestions based on comments that you write. So if we describe what we want to do using natural language, then GitHub Copilot can try to write that code for us. I'm not going to follow along with the example that's here. I'm going to come up with my own. I'll add a comment saying create a function that, and there we go. It looks like Copilot is now kicking in. So the grayed out text is the suggestion, and we're supposed to hit tab to accept the suggestion. So I'll hit tab and see what happens. Okay, so that filled out the rest of the comment for me. And let's see, I'm really hoping that if I just press enter, it'll have suggestions for me. Okay, path copilot.r. I'm not sure what that's getting at. I hit tab and enter, but that still doesn't seem like it's doing anything. Okay, now what if I copy and paste this function skeleton below that? Okay, so once I go into the skeleton, I have to press tab in order for it to pop up any of those suggestions, which isn't super clear in the documentation, to be honest, but it worked and this looks amazing. So let's hit tab and accept the suggestion. Wow, that's super cool. Let's get rid of this empty skeleton at the top and let's try actually using this function. And okay, look at that. Copilot even gives us suggestions for the begin and end arguments. That's awesome. I'll accept that suggestion and let's run this code. Now I'm pretty sure in VS Code it's very similar to RStudio, so I think all I need to do is hit Control Enter. Yeah, so just like in RStudio, I hit Control Enter and then it popped up in the terminal. So let's see if this function works, which it should. That's super cool. Okay, I'm really impressed so far. So I guess the real question is, how can we best utilize Copilot in order to get the most out of it and save us time on the stuff that's really tedious and give us more time to do the parts of our jobs that actually require more thinking and human input. So for me, the thing that's jumping out right away is the UI side of Shiny. And the reason that that's jumping out at me as something to try is because when I first tried out ChatGPT, that was the part that I was the most impressed by, because I spent so much time on playing around with the UI side of a Shiny app instead of doing the stuff on the server side that is actually like where my skills really come in. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who enjoy just writing UI code, but for me, like that part always feels like it's kind of like a necessary evil, and the server side logic is where the bulk of the work should be, but often isn't. So it would be amazing if something like ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot can save us time as data scientists on the UI side so that we can spend more time doing the more complex stuff. With that being said, I'm going to close this R script and I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to create another R document and let's try to describe a simple Shiny app and see how well Copilot does with this. I have no idea what the best prompts will be for this, so this might be a little bit of trial and error, but let's see if we say define user interface side of Shiny application. Let's hit tab. Oh my goodness, I didn't even have to hit tab and it already created something for us. This is incredible. So this is one of the examples that's on the Posit website, I believe. I think this is sort of like the standard example of a Shiny app. So let's hit tab and go along with that. And I hit enter. I didn't even have to describe what I was going to do next. It already knows that my next step in creating a Shiny app is to define the server logic that's required for this app. So I'm going to hit tab again, enter, and half a second later, it's got the rest of that example that's on the Posit website. So let's accept that suggestion by hitting tab, and I'm going to save this. Now I usually go with a 2-file Shiny app, like a UI.r and a server.r, but since this is all contained in one file, I'm going to call this app.r. I don't actually know if VS Code can launch a Shiny app, but let's give it a try and see what happens. I'm going to press the run button. I think that would run the whole app. Okay, right, that makes sense. So we forgot to load the packages. So I'm going to add a comment saying load required libraries. Let's see, hit enter. Oh my goodness. Okay, incredible. It knows exactly what package we're gonna need. And that's the Shiny package. Let's save that and try running this again. Okay, that did not work. Let's see. It's not giving us an error, it's just not working. I'm not sure if VS Code can run Shiny apps. Okay, looks like we're gonna need the R tools for Visual Studio. I'm guessing that's a VS Code extension. So let's go to the extensions tab. R tool for Visual Studio. Okay, that's not coming up. Maybe just R tools. Let's see. Okay, let's give that a go. Try running that again. Okay, we're still getting the same problem. All right, let's just try running this line by line. Okay, looks like I might have broken my VS Code somehow. So now when I'm hitting Control Enter, it's telling me that the execute in terminal is not found. So maybe let's try getting rid of that R tools extension. Let's see. Nope. Okay, I might have broken VS Code. Let's try restarting it. Okay, so now a terminal's been launched. Let's try Control Enter again. All right, and that fixed it. So I guess I broke VS Code somehow with that extension. I don't know why that didn't work, but let's see if we define the UI, the server. Okay, I just realized the problem is you have to use the run app function, which I totally forgot about. So that's on me. Let's hit tab and accept this suggestion from GitHub Copilot. Again, amazing. And let's hit Control Enter on that. And it looks great. It just launched right in VS Code, and it works like we would expect. I'm sure now if I just hit this run button, it'll all work. It's totally because I forgot to add that run app line. Now I wonder if, okay, let's see. Did that launch somewhere? Okay, so now VS Code seems to be kind of stuck. It thinks that I'm still trying to view this app, but I actually want to close it. Maybe if I go to the link and then end it. That didn't do anything either. Cool. Well, I'm not sure how to stop that execution, so what I'm going to do is just restart VS Code again. I'm curious if GitHub Copilot would have caught the fact that I didn't have that run app. So I'm just going to erase that and see. So if I hit enter after the definition of server, if it's going to suggest, oh my gosh, okay. Apparently, all I needed to do was hit enter and Copilot would have had my back. Interesting, it's using a different function than run app. Let's see if that works. Okay, doesn't like that. So maybe I do need to Control Enter my way through this. Cool. So if I just hit Control Enter a bunch of times, it works, but for some reason it seems like running the whole script doesn't work. So that's good to know. I'm wondering if there's a way to stop the app from running so that my terminal doesn't just get stuck on this. But I can't figure out a way. And if I just exit it, it doesn't seem to actually stop the app from running, which is odd. Well, so far I'm very impressed with the functionality of GitHub Copilot. This is totally something that I could see myself using. The benefit of this over ChatGPT is that it is right in your IDE, whereas with ChatGPT, I find that I'm spending a lot of time going back and forth, copying and pasting between the browser and my IDE. So having everything be typed out for me directly in place is really cool. I do like VS Code, but I'm a huge fan of RStudio, so I'm wondering if there's a way to integrate it into the RStudio IDE. I'm going to Google that quickly. Looks like there's a GitHub issue requesting this functionality. It looks like it's not currently in the plans to support it. And there's quite a discussion on this thread. It looks like there's a lot of philosophical debate about whether or not this is something that should be integrated into RStudio. I can see the arguments here. Someone's suggesting GPT tools package. I've definitely been meaning to learn GPT Studio. Maybe that's the route forward. Let's see this video here. Convert a script into functions. That kind of sounds similar to Copilot. Okay. It doesn't seem exactly the same. This example seems to be taking code that you've already written and then, yeah, converting it into a function, which is cool. It's still very cool. It's slightly different than what we're looking for, but okay. Interesting. So it sounds like this is definitely not available yet in RStudio. This thread is active as of now, really. And someone here is suggesting that there's an alternative to Copilot called Codium, which might be getting integrated with RStudio. Yeah, GPT Studio seems like the closest thing to an integration between RStudio and OpenAI right now. And although GitHub Copilot does use an OpenAI model, GPT Studio doesn't offer exactly the same thing. So it looks like for right now, like as of March 24th, 2023, it seems like we're stuck to VS Code for using GitHub Copilot specifically, but GPT Studio is an option for adding ChatGPT functionality to RStudio. It would probably allow us to do a lot of similar things. I guess the question comes down to cost comparison and what exactly it is that you're looking for. I'm not sure how expensive it would be to use GPT Studio instead of Copilot. Like the nice thing about GitHub Copilot is that it's only $100 a year, which is fairly affordable, especially if you're programming every day. This is something that will save you hours and hours and hours. It's definitely worth $100 a year. But I don't know how much it would cost to go the OpenAI API key route. Let's see. View pricing. It's a pay-as-you-go model, which could be good or could be bad depending on how often you're looking to use it. I guess the first step to understanding this pricing model is understanding tokens. Their prices are listed per 1,000 tokens, where you can think of tokens as pieces of words. 1,000 tokens is about 750 words. This paragraph is 35 tokens. Okay. It's really hard to know how much you'd be using. So what I'm going to do to figure that out is I'm going to log into my actual OpenAI account with like my personal account, and I can take a look at the usage there just to get a sense of the pricing. Because before I was on the account that I had created for my YouTube account, now I'm just going to check on my personal account where I have like an actual API key that I've used a little bit. Let's see usage. Okay, so I used it a bit in February. I think February 28th was the day that I created my YouTube video on using ChatGPT from within R. Apparently that cost me 2 cents out of, I have a free $18 credit, which is expiring very soon. Now on that day, I really didn't do very much. All I had asked was, what is the meaning of life? I think that was the only prompt that I asked, and that cost 2 cents. So it's 2 cents US dollars. So it's very possible that it could get expensive if you're using it every day for multiple hours. Pay as you go is a good model if you're, not going to be using a lot and you can predict how much it's going to cost you. But I do like the idea of GitHub Copilot's model of just being around $10 a month or slightly less than that if you get the annual subscription, because then you can just use it as much as you want. You don't have to think about how much it costs you. I guess there are usage limits here, so that's good. You can at least predict that your cost isn't going to be more than whatever amount you set for yourself. But I'm not sure because the integration into RStudio is huge. I think this is going to be one of those things where I just have to play around with both of them and see over time which one is the better fit for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you've tried both, which one do you recommend? Which one was cheaper for you? And which one meets your everyday needs better? I think for me personally, only time will tell. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you're as excited about GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT as I am. and I'll see you all in the next video.